This is the article, but really it's a whole series of articles. There's 3 that all kind of talk about the same thing. And the first one is CNET, which is, depending on your mileage, you may read regularly or you may not. They are a large online sort of conglomerate publication. They talk about technology news a lot. And very recently, last week, I don't know when I'll edit this, but so in mid-January 2023, we found out that a bunch of articles that they released in late 2022 were all written by artificial intelligence in the first instance. But essentially, they used the AI chatbot to answer very specific questions about the topic of those articles. And I think it was talking about financial instruments that were moving very quickly.
Pretty complicated.
It was super high and then super low, and it was really complicated. So I think they smartly, used the productivity tool in AI to help them do the initial research.
Yeah.
And then rigorously fact-checked is what they said. A team of humans rigorously
as long as it's fact-checked.
which I think is interesting, but also, it's scary, right? But I think you kind of have to disclose that, right?
I think it should definitely be disclosed.
Yeah, because this article's from Engadget, but also other big online platforms like The Verge. And it was a reporter, hey, we're paying our human employees to write these tech stories, but CNET, our competitor, presumably, is just using AI and not even disclosing that it's AI, right?
Yeah.
CNET is using AI to write financial explainers nearly 75 times since November. So that's just November 2020.
75 times.
75 articles since November. So
and they're all finance and complicated, complicated to us.
Definitely. So we're not in the finance space.
No, not at all.
Right?
Not at all.
Because if we were, we would not be in this business because it doesn't make any financial sense in any respect. But this is just the articles that they've found out so far, right? And that's not to say.
Yeah, that's right.
And these are like public-facing artifacts of work, right? Where they use AI, but who's to say like more internal workflows haven't been automated? Like this is like the most public-facing thing.
Whose decision it was to start doing this?
Because recently ChatGPT is the is the version of
that
AI
everyone's talking
about right now, and it comes from OpenAI. Yeah, so they're the company that have investors from all over the place, including Elon Musk and Microsoft. Right, so they're like 2 agents with seemingly wildly different dispositions. So Elon is very unpredictable, and Microsoft is very kind of historically stable. They're aligned with big business, big enterprises. Their software is designed to be used by professionals in very reliable, predictable ways. So the fact that they're both heavily invested, but Microsoft being one of the biggest.
There's something to it, clearly.
I think the deal that's not yet finalized is like 10 billion or something investment out of a 29 billion valuation of OpenAI. Big money, big business. All of these people are thinking this is essentially the next big thing in technology, right? The thing that you realize when you first use it is that there's no fancy anything. It's just you log on, you sign up, and then you type your question into a box and it comes back and gives you
because I have to admit I haven't had a play with ChatGPT. I've heard things about it, but I haven't really.
If you see any new app, they try to get you with the bright colors and the sound effects and that kind of stuff, but they've gone the opposite route. It's just very unassuming.
Feels like an old school chat room. Okay.
Literally just a chat room. And the other thing is that it's way different than how AI has been depicted up until this point, right? If you ever saw that movie Ex Machina, which is like a crazy movie, right? So
I have seen it a long time ago.
Yeah, so they got Alicia Vikander to play the manifestation of AI, which fooled everyone. Spoiler, fooled everyone in the movie that she.
Spoiler alert.
The scary part wasn't that she was good at hiding that she was not human. The scary part was that even when it was very obvious that she wasn't human, it would still able to convince humans to do their bidding, right?
That's right.
To convince them to sympathize with them. And one of the characters will let her escape that
That's
have
right, yeah.
robots or like lines of code, but this is not that at all. It's just like a blank screen with
an interface.
With little interface. That's kind of why it's so appealing. I think they've gone that really interesting route.
Of course. Yeah. Is this something you suspect they've used something like ChatGPT to prompt it, write an article about this particular topic?
So the easiest way I recommend for anyone listening to this is just go have a play with it. At the moment, we're in January 2023. It's free, although it's frequently crashing because of the number of users. It's the fastest platform ever to reach 1 million users.
Oh, wow.
Ever. The fact that they're so accessible would mean that people were able to use it and we're testing it. And in this case, CNET has been co-opting it as part of its professional workflow and hopefully not replacing writers in writers' jobs, but enhancing their productivity on their behalf. Where it's going to come in is not where anyone predicted AI would come in to take people's jobs. The paradigm shift that I was always taught was that when automation comes in, it's going to be the blue collar jobs that have hands-on repeatable skills that would be automated away with robots.
Right.
If you're a white-collar job or an intellectual or a cognitively demanding kind of role that you're doing, you're analyzing things, you're thinking about things, maybe automated away, but that takes a high
Parts
level.
of it anyway.
Yeah, that's right. But that has a high level of sophistication. And if you're an independent artist who's creating music and art and poems, that sense of ineffable sort of spark will never be replaced, right? So that's how it was always pitched to me, but it's gone exactly the inverse of that trend, where DALL-E 2 is up to the second version now, where you just ask it for photorealistic images and it creates brand new artwork from scratch, right? And you can ask it to write poems. I've asked it to write, it's not a very good poem, but maybe that's my prompt.
I don't think I'd be a good judge of that. So
no. And you can ask it to compose music for you in a certain mood.
Oh, right.
Like, you know, write me a classical acoustic piece in the style of this person. Can you give me a graphic that communicates melancholy in the style of 8-bit sort of sprite characters? Like, so you can be pretty specific with it, and then it gives you like presumably original art, right? Like new pieces of art. So people who work in the areas of, let's say, photography or visual artists or graphic designers whose job it is to make custom graphics and get paid well to do it, because that's a creative task that's very difficult to replace seemingly overnight. It was being talked about as well. Why do we need to have a graphic designer or a visual artist?
I never would have predicted that would be the kind of field that you'd see encroached upon by AI.
No,
never in a million years.
Not at all. And it's crazy that's the first thing it came for.
Have you played with it to generate art? Or?
Yeah, I've played a lot with it. Certain aspects of it are really impressive, especially when you give it a prompt. I think you say, give me a 3D render or give me a photorealistic image. If you give it those prompts, then it'll create something custom. Most of them look absolutely crazy. Like,
right, I was going to ask, does it look like something where you went, what is this? Or I mean, some art is like that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, who am I to judge
in the eye of the beholder?
But let's say you were writing an article written by AI. So you work for a publication that hypothetically uses AI to write its articles, and halfway through the article, you say, well, I want a stock image here to represent how people are feeling stressed financially. Right, so let's say it's about a financial instrument. I want to know more about it. I want a stock image of someone who's short on money or feeling stressed about money. And you can go to the big players like Adobe Stock and look for one and pay for that fee to use the image. You can go out there and hire a photographer to do something in studio. Or now apparently you can ask AI to, hey, give me an image of a person feeling stressed about money, and it'll give you something that will communicate that in some way, right? So how it's been tuned is really interesting, right? Because I guess of all the things to release, they could have released, it turns out OpenAI has all of these tricks in its bag, right? All of these different elements of it, but that's the thing they chose to release first. Well, that's what everyone heard of first anyway. Like the fact that
isn't it?
It's the creative element that can be automated away as a kind of a proof of principle, as a bit of a flex, right? To kind of prove that the paradigm shift is reversed and all of your predictions about automation are wrong. There are some seams that are showing now, because a lot of artists are finding that their art is being used as inspiration, let's say, for the AI generated art. And in many cases, if people have a watermark on their work or a signature.
I saw this, and there were sort of remnants of that still on the AI generated images.
Yeah, or like just consistently the bottom right corner of these images is like blocked away or replaced with something, right? So how much it's taking creative license and how much it's just straight out plagiarizing visually is very unclear. And there's a lot of artists who are basically finding that their artwork is used to
terrible for them.
Certainly train the AI. Whether or not the AI is spitting just that artwork back is a different story. Yeah.
But part of their work is generating something unique and interesting, and then just to have that heavily leaned upon.
How could this affect, let's say, your job, right? So you work managing clinical research, not to give your boss any ideas to automate your job away, but you have to think creatively, right? Like, so can you use this technology to make you more efficient? Or are there aspects of your job that you should think about delegating because it will be automated? And if you're spending a lot of effort on that and not learning new things that may be a little harder to automate or can't be automated, maybe that's a better use of your time and better use of resources, right? So are there any aspects of your job that you think fit into the scheme?
I guess the writing is an interesting point, whether you could have it say, I don't know, write an article or write an application. People with science backgrounds, we know that you have to take everything with a grain of salt. I would be very, very worried that it would pull from something that was not reliable information to make certain conclusions. I think I don't personally have major ethical issues with its use, provided it's done in the right way and it's, rigorously fact-checked, or used as at a very baseline level to start something. But it's scary. It's scary.
It's scary. And in my area of assessment and students, and the temptation to use it to quote unquote cheat is through the roof. Now, assuming that it stays free for the next semester at least, then students can access it. And I don't think the plagiarism checkers right now are anywhere near as advanced as, because it's generative, right? So what it does is it creates a word and then it uses the previous words to predict what the next words would be. So it's not like spitting out some kind of pre-written thing. It's the natural language model, as they say, right? So the AI is using your keywords and thinking of the first word and then using that word and your prompt to predict what the next series of words are, like a human would to conceive language when they're thinking of a sentence to say, right? So that generative model of text doesn't actually give you reproducible pre-written sections that consistently. So if you put that through the classical plagiarism checker, it wouldn't be able to detect that.
Right, not at all.
Consistently, not to say there aren't other ways of checking it, right? I've put a few of my exam questions through it to see what it comes up with.
Oh, have you? That's interesting.
And
how did it go?
It's great for breadth in terms of the coverage of lots of different topics. Like everything it's saying is on point, right? So relevance seems to be what it's tuned for right now. Hey, here are all the things that might be relevant, but we know that that's not enough, right? Like you have to then build on top of those topics or choose a subset of those to then invest a bit more of your time and focus on your work and research.
Of course.
But really when I'm grading papers and I'm grading exams, like breadth might be all I can afford to grade students on at a certain level. Maybe asking them to think more at a higher plane with more complexity and constructing new understanding. Maybe that's the most asked for like a first year student in uni or college.
Yeah, of course. It's a scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah, it's scary. So I have no idea what I'm going to tell my students about it this semester. I think I have to say something about it.
Yeah, it's good to acknowledge it.
But if you want to do this for 1,000 students, the design assessment, that can't be
so
beatable
hard,
by AI.
I imagine.
Very, very unfeasible. Right? It's not scalable.